Watching Samurai Flamenco was a refreshing experience. If you're a fan of any Sentai shows, then you need to check this out. Growing up, I was a fanatic of Power Rangers, which is United States' most popular adaptation of a Japanese Sentai show. So when watching Samurai Flamenco, I could see many influences and also references to different types of Sentai shows. So I was really taken for a nostalgia trip, and at times I even felt like a kid again when watching this. But of course, it is not perfect. A lot of people have problems around 7 or 8 episodes in, and some people even drop it around there. But I have to say, continue watching this, because while it's not as good as the first part, to be honest with you, it is still enjoyable, and that last part, the ending to this, has such a major twist that you see coming out of nowhere that I think that everyone should see that just to see what type of ending this has to it, because I guarantee you that you will not expect that sort of ending. So going into these 3 arcs here, I'm going to try and be vague about certain details to preserve the experience for people who have yet to watch the series, but there are just certain things that I need to talk about because this is a review. So taking a look into this first arc here, honestly, it's the most enjoyable out of the entire series. It's the most well written, it's the funniest, overall it's the most enjoyable. The other 2 arcs do have enjoyable qualities to them, but they really can't touch this first arc. So in the beginning of the story, we see Masayoshi, who is an otaku of these Sentai shows. He's got all of the action figures, he knows everything about them, and he really idolizes them. He wants to become a hero himself, so he gets a costume and he roams the street, and he gets people for minor laws that they're breaking, such as smoking in non-smoking areas, or jaywalking, or putting your trash out a day early. He's really just nitpicking people in the beginning, and it's really funny to watch that. So in the beginning of episode 1, we see Masayoshi in the middle of some random alley completely naked because he's changing out of his superhero costume, and he's caught by a police officer, so it's a very awkward moment, and then they become friends. Here we meet his best friend, Goto, who is a police officer, and because of this random strange event that they meet each other in, they become friends. Goto takes Masayoshi back to his home, and here we see Masayoshi explaining everything to his new friend about how he always wanted to be a hero, and how he's starting small by getting people for just minor offenses such as being drunk in public or jaywalking, and he gets beaten up a lot because he has no experience with martial arts, and he's a pretty weak guy overall. So needless to say, Goto thinks that Masayoshi is a complete idiot, but he sticks around because he knows he's gonna need his help eventually. So here we have Masayoshi in his Samurai Flamenco outfit, roaming the streets, trying to stop people from the smallest of crimes in hope of moving on to bigger fish out there, and he eventually becomes more popular when people take his picture or upload videos of him to the internet. So because of the growing popularity of Samurai Flamenco, this attracts other people who are also obsessed with superheroes to step out and make their own costumes and get on the streets and do different things. We have some people who are trying to become heroes as well, and we also have some people who are drawn to become villains as well. So the first arc of Samurai Flamenco is easily my favorite because there's such great character interaction between Masayoshi and Goto, because they are complete opposites, so it's really funny to watch them. And then we meet characters such as Maya and a few other characters which are very important to the story, and they're interesting as well. And you also begin to feel for Masayoshi because every night he's out there on his grind trying to stop crime, giving all of these speeches and getting his ass kicked a lot. So moving on, taking a look into the second arc of the series, which is where a lot of people drop it, because here we see the introduction of a lot of supernatural enemies with actual monsters here. Now, a lot of people didn't really like that, and honestly I felt that it was a bit weird at first, but through watching it, I really feel that there was a lot of influence here from actual Sentai series, and this is really where it steps into becoming a Sentai-like anime series. However, my biggest problem with the second arc here is not the fact that we have actual monsters to fight, and it's the introduction of supernatural elements to a series that was pretty down to earth. It's that here we see the introduction of some team members that fight alongside Masayoshi, but they are not the people that we met within the first arc of the story. I expected Goto to be one of these rangers, if you will. I expected Goto to become a hero and fight alongside Masayoshi. I expected Maya to do the same. I expected Masayoshi to meet other people who are also fanatics and really have their story build up, where they become a team and fight together, but no, I really really feel that this is one of the major flaws within the story, because here we have about 4 or 5 other characters that we're just randomly introduced to, and Maya and Goto, who are great characters, which I enjoyed them. I really didn't care for Maya so much because she was kind of a brat, but I did enjoy the fact that she was so different from the other characters there. But these major characters to the story from the first part kind of take the back seat. We know so little about these characters that come into play. As soon as we meet them, we're given maybe like a minute into their backstory, and that's really it. So we don't really know a whole lot about them, and honestly, we have no reason to care about them, but it expects us to for some reason. And another major flaw that I had with the second arc of the series was that the first part of Samurai Flamenco was all about the realization of the dream of becoming a hero, of stepping up there and becoming basically a leader for people. So here we have Masayoshi, who is the leader of this crew, and he is still not actually the leader. He's still looking up to a TV star of someone who played the part of one of his favorite heroes growing up, and I really feel that it makes the character of Masayoshi feel weaker because he still has to look up to other characters for advice. He's the leader of the team, he's the Red Ranger, he should be their leader, but he's still looking up to another person. He should be leading it by then, and I really felt that it made the story feel a little bit weaker, and also it really hurt the character as well. So with the second arc of Samurai Flamenco, it really reminds me of Power Rangers or any other Sentai show out there, because everything has this format. You're fighting against these monsters, and then you use their special attacks on them, and then they grow big, and then you get mechs here. You get giant robots to fight them, and now as far as the fights go in Samurai Flamenco, I have to say that they are done great. The hand-to-hand combat with actual people fighting against each other and people fighting against monsters, that was done well, but I have to say that the mech elements within this series were really subpar in my opinion. It doesn't really look all that great, however, I still enjoyed it because it really took me back. It's more of a nostalgia thing to me, but looking at it from an objective standpoint, the animations for that wasn't really all that great. The second arc of Samurai Flamenco spans from, I think, episode 7 all the way up until episode 20, so it's the majority of the series, and within these episodes we see 3 major bosses that Masayoshi fights against, and I enjoyed watching this because we have a lot of references from other Sentai shows, we have a lot of references from other anime as well. We see some Sailor Moon references, we see some references from Saint Seiya, we see other references from some comic books. There's a reference from Captain America here as well. So with this second arc coming to an end, we have this massive end-all fight to it, and here we have some sort of conclusion to it, which I feel it was the perfect ending to the series, but for some reason they had to continue it. I think the second arc ends around episode 20, and then we have the last 2 episodes, which are a completely different arc altogether. It might be the last 3 episodes, but it doesn't really matter because I feel that this last arc, the third arc, really has no place within the series because the second arc would have wrapped everything up perfectly, but the third arc here, it brings a little bit of a darker tone to the series, introducing a major problem with the character of Goto. But of course, it's not all about Goto. Because this is Samurai Flamenco, there's going to be a villain for Masayoshi to fight, and I really feel that this villain makes you hate him the most out of all of the villains in the series, because he attacks Masayoshi on a personal level by attacking everyone who's close to him. So overall, with this third arc, I really like the fact that we get a little bit of depth into Goto's past, and we see the resolution of that, but I don't like the fact that the third arc exists, because I really feel that the second arc would have wrapped everything up perfectly, and then we had this last 2 or last 3 episodes that were kind of unnecessary. And then, of course, we have the ending here. The ending was such a massive twist here that I really felt that it was pushed. We have some revelation with the characters. We learn something about them, but I don't really have a problem with what we learned. I really felt that it was something that was an unnatural progression for the character, and I really feel that it was done to be edgy, and I don't really think it has a place in the story. Now, if this would have happened in other ways that seem more natural, I wouldn't mind that. I don't have a problem with the characters the way that they are. There was this huge theme of acceptance at the end of the series, and I felt that that was fine. I didn't really have a problem with that, but the way that it all happened seemed very extreme. It really felt like they were trying to do it just to push the envelope, and they ended up pushing it right off the table, because here you have one character who kind of exposes something to another character, and that character is a middle school student, and it's a very strange thing, and I really think they could have done it a better way than that, such as, I really don't want to even get into that, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. If you've seen Samurai Flamenco, then you know what I'm talking about. I don't want to give too much detail about this, because honestly, I think if I did, then that might push people away from watching it. Overall, I still have to say that it was a very enjoyable experience, and I would possibly even watch this again at some point, because I enjoyed it so much. So moving on to the overall presentation, the animation here was done great. I really liked the way that the characters were animated, the fights were done great. Like I said before, I didn't really care for the way that the mech fights were done. That could have been done a little bit better, but that's really the worst part of the animation here. The rest of it is done great. Moving on to the audio, I love the music here. I would love to have a soundtrack to this. I felt that this had great music to it, and also with the opening to it. There were two different openings, and I felt bad the last time that I had to watch the opening, because it was on the last episode, and I had that feeling like this is the last episode where I will see this opening. After this, it will end, and I'll have to move on to new series, and I will not see this opening again for a long time, and I really felt bad because of that, because I really liked the opening. It actually had me hyped up, and I really enjoyed it. Taking a look at the voice acting, this only has Japanese voice acting as of now, because it has not been licensed in the United States, but if it did, hopefully we get good voice acting for that. So with the Japanese voice acting, I really feel that they did a great job because of this. You could really hear a lot of the emotion in their acting here, so definitely a great job because of that. And also with the subtitles at the bottom, I felt that they were written in a way that was exciting to me still. I had a lot of excitement when watching the series, so overall, I would have to give this series a 7.5, because it does have a lot of problems, but I still really enjoyed it. Honestly, if they would have fixed some of these problems, then I would have given this series a 9. If they would have had the characters that I would have expected to become some of the partners of Masayoshi in the end, and if they would have had just the supernatural arc, I'll leave it at that. The supernatural arc being the ending of it, because I really felt that wrapped it up nice. If they had done that, I would have given this series a 9, but I really feel that the way that they ended it, I felt that they just did that just to be edgy, and I don't really feel that it was a natural progression for the characters. But overall, I enjoyed it, and I recommend you to watch Samurai Flamenco. If you've seen Samurai Flamenco, then let me know your thoughts about it in the comment section below. What did you think about the ending? Let me know your thoughts about that, but please do not spoil it for other people who are going to watch this review that have not seen Samurai Flamenco. So if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, of course, and also if you want to share it with your friends, I will really appreciate that as well. Thank you for watching. I'll see you later.